The first time it happened, I was in my 20s, somewhere around the middle 1960s. I can't remember the exact year. And I was having medical treatment as an outpatient in a Belfast hospital. And as part of the treatment, I was injected with a very powerful muscle relaxant. And I discovered right from the first time that this happened that immediately after I had the injection, I would, lying on the hospital bed, I would float up out of my body by a matter of 2 or 3 feet. And I would float above my body until the injection wore off. And if I wanted to move or to speak, it was as if I somehow controlled my body like a puppet. It was as if there were sort of invisible strings. At the time, it never occurred to me that this was anything other than just the effect of the drug. I just assumed that this was a sort of, I suppose you'd call it a drug-induced hallucination. But a couple of years after that, it happened again, and this time there were no drugs at all involved. I went to bed one evening, and I was in the process of falling asleep when I suddenly found myself standing in the roadway outside my home. I could see the road itself, I could see the hedge, and I could feel the cold wind. And then suddenly I was back in bed, and there was a sort of metallic clang, rather like dropping a spoon on a stone floor. And that was it. Well, it didn't take me very long to figure out what had happened. I assumed that while I thought I was just falling asleep, I had actually fallen asleep and dreamed the whole thing. And that seemed a good enough explanation. And I forgot about it. But then, a matter of, I suppose just weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks, the big one occurred. I woke up, I suppose about 2, 3 in the morning, needing to go to the loo. So I got up out of bed, walked round the bottom of the bed so as not to disturb my wife, and the bathroom was just a step or two down the corridor outside the bedroom. And I walked to the door of the bedroom. It was quite light in the bedroom. There was moonlight coming through the window. And I went to open the door, and I couldn't open the door. Just wouldn't open. And I remember thinking to myself, this is strange. I mean, I never locked the bedroom door, and I couldn't see why my wife wouldn't lock it. And yet the door wouldn't open. And I was still trying to figure out what was going on when I noticed something very strange. I noticed that my right hand, which was, I thought, on the handle of the door, it was a round knob handle, had actually penetrated the knob of the door. In other words, I wasn't holding the handle, my hand had gone through it. And I looked across towards the bed, and there was someone lying in the bed beside my wife. And I stared at this person. And after a second or two, I realized it was me. It was as if I had somehow left my body lying in the bed. Now, I know this sounds strange, but at the time, my concern wasn't about the oddness of what was happening. My concern was the fact that I needed to have a pee. I needed to go to the loo. And you can't do that without the relevant equipment. So I went back to the bed and I lay down on top of this body and I wriggled to get back into it. And I got back into it. And I got up again to go to the loo. And this time I walked right through the bedroom door. I'd left my body behind again. And this happened, I think, 6 times now. On one of the occasions I actually got to the bathroom. I was standing in front of the bowl when I realized I'd left the body behind. So it took me 6 attempts to get the body up and to get it to the bathroom. Looking back, the experience had no dreamlike qualities whatsoever. I felt exactly as I feel now. I felt solid. I felt real. I could feel the carpet underneath my feet. I was wearing pajamas. Everything around me looked real and solid. And the only difference, apart from the fact that there was a corpse lying on the bed, but the only difference was that I could walk through things that looked perfectly solid. And at the time, of course, I had no idea what had happened to me. But I was intrigued. And I began to research it. I was a journalist, working as a journalist then. And I discovered that I was by no means unique, that lots of people have had what's now called an out-of-body experience, and in less respectable circles sometimes called astral projection. And I researched it for about a year, and this led directly to the very first book I ever published. It was called Astral Doorways, and it's still in print.